excited today. It's the first ever Shifa experience, the latest addition to the Zaha experience, and to be honest, I don't know how it would go. How would the explorers act or react with it? So let's see. It's something I'm passionate about for sure, and I don't know how I got to this point, but we'll have more details in the session of how it started with a hike somehow and ended up here. But life is a journey, and that's the excitement of it, is that you'll never be able to anticipate what's the next thing coming. So we have the aloe veras, the gigantic ones here, the family size ones, and we have the different ingredients that we will use for the juices. And on the other side of the camera we have the plants and we have the leaves for the explorers, and let's see. I'm hoping for the best. This could be a start for something really exciting and big, or it could be a big fiasco, which I don't know at this point. Let's see.
Story.
Let's not focus on him.
I know.
On his ideas, because he's there.
His intelligence.
He is intelligent. And عنده كتاب جديد.
Yeah.
Things about the future.
There was one in between.
Yeah.
Ben Sapiens which
وهذاك
So we're so grateful that we're all together, getting together tonight for the first Shifa experience under Zaha. For those that I've never met before, just to get more attention, what we're trying to do through Zaha is to curate this safe space for all of us, just to share our own articulation of the culture that is within each one of us, because we don't believe that cultures are associated with countries. We believe it's associated with people. So the way we define culture, it's more of the norms that are within each one of us. So we have 7 billion human beings, we have 7 billion cultures to explore and cherish and learn from. So we started last year, and so far we have designed 4 experiences. We tap into different aspects of the cultures, and we allow people to share their own articulation in relation to those aspects of the cultures by focusing on people and emotions. So when you actually explore a certain culture by focusing on emotions and the people behind it, we see each other as humans, and we're no longer actually thinking of the labels that are associated with the physical places that we're coming from. So we have designed Tadawa, which is storytelling and food for the soul, where we talk about what's behind food, people and efforts and their names and their habits. And Mazij, which is cross-cultural cooking that would actually bring more empathy between us. And then Anamil, which is in relation to art and craft. So we would share about a certain craft, where it's coming from, the emotions of the people behind it, and what does it mean for the experienced leader. And then recently, we're so grateful that people started to refer to us, coming up with ideas for new experiences. And this is actually what happened with Shifa. So I'll just leave it for you to share with them, as in how did Zaha speak to your heart, and how did you come up with the idea of Shifa?
So it started last monsoon season, actually, in Oman. Where I got to meet Asma for the first time. She's my hiking buddy, and that was the first time we sat together, and we were waiting for the rest of the hikers to arrive on the next flight. And so we wanted to fill up the time. I've never met her before. We started talking about various things, and then she mentioned her experience, I mean, she has a long story before it, but then she came to the Zaha experience, and it took me some time. I mean, it took me some time to understand actually what is it about, right? Because it's called an experience. Yeah, this one is listening. Yeah, it's called an experience, but what is it exactly? The experience, and now I understand that it is as simple as that. It's just breaking the boundaries, bringing people together for a common understanding, and Dubai is kind of the best place to do that because the more you talk to people, the more you feel like you're similar in one way or another. And I had a long thought about this and the potential that this would bring to a community that is made of people coming from different parts of the world, where a lot of people feel disconnected. I mean, a lot of my friends couldn't stay here, not because, you know, traffic or stuff like this that we face on a daily basis, but mostly because this one likes to eat everything. Mostly because they couldn't connect. And I thought that I'd like to be part of this experience somehow. And she told me about, you know, the maestros, and which I thought is something of music. And so I thought one of the things that we share around the world is our medicinal practices, right? And so to just give you an idea, when was the last time you have been to your grandma's house or to your mom's house, right? Where you've said, you know, I feel some tummy pain, or I feel feverish a little bit, and then she opens the cupboard and gets something and cooks it, and you feel better, right? And that is kind of the ultimate medicine, you know, something that actually tastes nice as well, and it is food. And so I wanted to highlight on this tradition that we all have in common. I've spoken to a lot of people from different parts of the world, and everybody have used some form of spice or food or plant for some medicinal properties, right? And so I thought this would be a good addition to the Zaha experience, another topic that people can relate through to each other. And I thought of a name, and we call it Shifa. And Shifa is mainly healing, right? Healing, kind of, right? And just to give you a brief about the Shifa experience, it will be a one of the platforms within the platform of Zaha, where people actually share that folk medicine or traditional medicine or alternative medicine, whatever you want to call it, from back home, you know, based on their traditions. So humans have, since the dawn of history, probably since the Paleolithic age, like 60,000 years ago, have used food to treat. Okay, they discovered that if they eat that plant after a bad mushroom, then they can get rid of the diarrhea. Okay, and then they kind of started developing that knowledge through the years, and that was actually evidenced through the burial sites, you know, where they digged up a lot of skeletons. A lot of people were being buried with some form of plant, right? And that was kind of analyzed that this is this is a plant that has been buried for the afterlife. If you get to have any of those diseases afterlife, you can use this. It's available, and that continued through the years all around the world, from Egyptians to Chinese to the Amazons to the Celtics to everywhere, to Africa. People have used plants that were around or spices for their medicinal properties, and that knowledge has developed through the years and refined. There was no research, of course, but people kind of told each other, you know, from one grandma to the other, from one practitioner to the other, that if you use this seed, this plant, it would be good for this thing. And most of that knowledge, the problem with it, and also the special thing, is it's sitting in the brains of the people. There's no textbook. There's very few textbooks. I know in Arabic, back from Lebanon, where I come from, very few, mostly written by some kind of a non or religious person sitting in some monastery, and it's not readily available. And even if it's available, it's not easy to read through. And a lot of plants are just sketched, right? So it's hard to decipher. But this is the thing. It's when you get that symptom, the pain, the flu, the fever, a skin rash, and you go to that either a grandma in your house or somebody who's like a shaman or somebody who's a practitioner in your neighborhood, and he does something that is out of the Western, let's call it, or formal medicine. Well, that's how it's referred to, and it works. And so one of the stories that I have from my experience is, yeah, so I have a younger sister, and she used to have a lot of tummy pain, right? Every now and then my mom would prepare some kind of a soup or something for her, but one night nothing worked. She kept on screaming left and right, and she was like, what, 2 or 3 years old, screaming all night. So she said, I'm tired. My mom said, I'm tired. If you can just, carry her around, try to sing her something to sleep, because nothing worked at all, right? So she exhausted all the things in the cupboard, because she is also she's familiar with these things. And I said, Mom, I think it's time to take her to the emergency department. I think, okay, fine. She took her to the emergency department, and then they did the usual. They palpated the abdomen and they checked the CTs and everything. I said, she's fine. She doesn't look, nothing looks bad in the tummy. And just give her a pain medication. Take this medication, she'll be fine. And she was sent home. Back home, she gave her the medication. 2 hours later, she's still screaming. Couldn't get her to sleep. One of our neighbors heard the cry and came over and said, is she all right? No, she's not. Well, we have a lady, an old lady in the street. Yeah, and on that street called Sharif, right? And that Sharif is known to everybody that she knows how to handle babies who are crying for some kind of pain.
Right. General statement.
Yeah, exactly.
And specific at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So Sharif is not a gastroenterologist per se, but she knows how to handle babies who have tummy pain. That's how she's known for. So my mom reluctantly take my sister to that Sharif, and Sharif just gets some olive oil, right? And she rubs the abdomen with that hot olive oil that warmed, and says some verses, right? Mm-hmm. And 5 minutes later, my sister is sleeping. She's so tired she couldn't even stay awake. And when we asked Sharif, what did you do? She said that she had a intestinal twist, which is in medical terms called valvulus, right? So valvulus is when the intestines, they just make a coil twist. And that's a medical emergency, right? It has to be operated, opened, and then, because you can't manipulate it from outside. But that lady was able to do it somehow, and that was not the only case she has handled. She handles at least 2 or 3 cases, because she's known around in the neighborhood for that, and nobody knows how she learned that, or what exactly is the technique. And then Sharif passed away few years earlier and never actually told anybody else about this, but it worked, and it worked as miracle. And so that's one of the stories where traditional medicine was able to solve a problem that modern medicine couldn't, right? With minimally invasive, mind you, minimally invasive.
The theme of this experience is to share our experiences with herbs. It happens that you have an experience, it's not like forced. I'm coming from an agricultural community in Palestine where we grow what we eat. So we used to use herbs, of course, and everything is fresh. And the cuisine in the Middle Eastern area is known for being very simple. So we would use herbs as seasoning for the food, for cooking. We don't use much of spices, it's very minimal. So if you open the cupboard in my kitchen, it's full of spices. Not spices, I mean some dried herbs from my parents' garden in Palestine. So actually I brought some with me. So rosemary, we call it حصل بان in Arabic. I'm not sure the oak lily الجبل. It's It's a very powerful kind of herbs. We use it a lot to marinate grills, especially meat. What do you call that part of الميت الفتيلة اللي بتيجي عند الباكبون of this is very specific name. It's like part of the beef where
For those who love meat, this is the best bit.
yeah, and so we only marinate it like with olive oil, of course freshly pressed olive oil, and rosemary, and we just leave it over the night, and then we just grill it the day after. So it brings up the flavor, and we don't use much of spices. We used a lot for grills, and some of the interesting uses for rosemary. Actually, it's called Iklil al-Jabal in Arabic, which means how would you translate Iklil al-Jabal?
That's hard to translate. It's,
for some reason. There's a story behind it, I believe, but I'm not aware of it. Well, we use it a lot. It's good for enhancing the memory, by the way. We use it for Alzheimer. You know, people are suffering from Alzheimer. It's extremely good for bloating. It's very good for cramps, and it helps you to sleep deeply. Yeah, I'm happy to share some with you if any is interested.
Yeah.
So it reminds me, I love to use it because it reminds me of home, it reminds me of my parents, and that connection actually with the soil, with the land, purifies your soul. It came at an expense, going back to Palestine, but I would always be appreciative of that experience.
It's also a potent antibiotic.
Yeah, interesting, see?
Yeah.
So how would people use it? I mean, if you want to help yourself to go to sleep, you know, you just boil some water and then you add this to it. But then to use it as an antibiotic, I'm not sure.
No, but that's the good thing about those things, is that you don't intentionally use it as an antibiotic, but if the meat had any bacteria in it, that would kill it.
Okay, interesting.
See, that's the thing.
Okay.
Because that's what spices are also for. I mean, spices as turmeric and stuff, right? And they have been used as antibiotics, as preservatives. The way we use like salt to preserve meat, they used spices to preserve meat before fridges came to be, right? And so, but that's not the main intention. The main intention is to give a nice flavor to the meat.
That's what's within you. Do you have, I feel like you have something.
I've been thinking about all day, trying to think of a good story. So there isn't much use of herbal remedies for my family, but there were some things that did come to mind. So when I was very young, I had suffered from bronchitis. I remember one of my grandmothers, she fills the sink, bathroom sink full of hot water and then put something inside it. And I had to lean over with this towel over my head and like breathe in all the vapours.
I've completely forgotten, but I used to have to do that as well. It's like eucalyptus and kind of minty sort of things that help clear out your airways. Essential oils.
Just go ahead, because we use the same thing, so I'm going to try to find the English translation to what we use.
But, I remember sort of coughing quite a lot after doing this, but definitely my lungs felt a lot sort of cleaned out afterwards. And the other thing I was thinking was when, again, I was very young, sort of had sort of sore throat or cough or something, same grandmother make hot water with honey and ginger. And that was, I mean, you can get sort of like Lemsip, a sort of popular medicine with like honey and ginger as well, but it's just hot water with lemon and ginger as the sort of thing to help sort out the cough. I think Zaha is one that I've heard of before I came to Dubai, but I hadn't really used before. But since I've been living in Dubai, it's something I've used a lot more.
The sun-dried, the thyme.
The thyme, with the sesame seeds and things.
Okay. Do you use it for cooking?
Is that what it's in better? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's so it's thyme, sesame.
Yeah. So I'll share like my mom's recipe. So of course she picks the thyme from the mountains and she sun dries them. She grinds them the very traditional way. So and then she adds organic sesame, from my grandmother's garden. She just roasts them. She adds them And organic summa has to be organic, because if it's the commercial one, then it doesn't taste the same. It has to be soury and shiny. This is how we know on the organic summa, and salt, and then olive oil. And then she would like mix them together. The one that you get from Syria or Lebanon, it would taste completely different. But my feeling from what I've tried so far, and I don't want to generalize because this is so against that, it's very fine. The za'atar from, like fine. They grind it, I think, much more. It's very fine compared to the one. Ours is like rough, like they grind but not very much.
I'm always amazed how same practices have made its way around the world. And so we do the same when we have like bronchitis, and we use a tree that's called I think quina. I don't know if you have something similar where you come from. Right, so that's very abundant and it's very effective. It's if you have a cough, a dry cough, bronchitis, this is what you do. You get a couple of branches, you put them in a pot, and then you let them steam, and then you inhale them, and you feel better afterwards.
Interesting.
But the only one that I can really think of is if you have a cold, a hot toddy, which is similar to yours but more adult,
Yes.
not a child-friendly one. It's lemon, honey, hot water, and a shot of whiskey. Which I think I don't get it. I think the whiskey does a double job on top of the kind of the lemon, which is obviously kind of citrus and vitamin C, which would help, and the honey, which makes it taste a bit nicer. I think the whiskey does a bit of like clearing out your airways a bit, and also sending you to sleep. You're supposed to drink it before bed and go to bed and hopefully feel better. And it got me thinking about how actually actually not just my family, but it's very British, but also very personal. Just hot drinks, tea in particular, and how we use that not for like medicinal things, but like emotional healing. So tea plays a very big role in like anything that's gone wrong. A cup of tea will make it better.
It's like sage in Palestine. We strongly believe it cures everything. I'm not sure if you've come across it. Sage.
I mean, I know of it.
If it ever goes wrong, you go with sage and you'll be fine.
So I think tea brings British people together everywhere, and I tried to describe it when I was living here, because I'm visiting at the moment, but I used to live here, and I tried to describe it to people at work. Like the feeling of a cup of tea to me is like the same kind of feeling of home as like a hug from my mum. Like that's what it feels like to me. It's like kind of like warms you from the inside. But then also in my family, because my parents spent a long 20 years in Hong Kong, and my brother and I were born out there, so we sort of picked up additional teas along the way. So we drink a lot of jasmine tea in my family, which is, but then again that's quite specific for if you've overeaten a lot of Chinese food, then happens, or like after dinner, jasmine tea will help you digest it.
Interesting. But what's the name of that drink where you have the lemon and
it's called a hot toddy.
So alcoholic drinks have an antibacterial property, right? Because of the alcohol. Right? And if they're fermented, then they would have the good bacteria, which would derive the bad bacteria out. Right? So that's apart from the...
You're right. And also, now that I think about it, another sort of old wives' tale with whiskey is for teething children.
Yes.
You would put a dab of whiskey on your finger and pop it on the
to numb
the pain, but also because it's to disinfect it.
But that's the thing. We lost that connection between what food can do and often overfaith in medicine, thinking that pill has been engineered somewhere. But a lot of those chemicals in the medication are derived from those plants. They're derived from the plants. I mean, there's a lot of stories where by accident they discovered that something actually is helpful. They replicated it in a lab and they made it a medication. This is how penicillin started, isn't it? Right? So it all started with that piece of bread that was molded, and then bacteria couldn't survive on it. right? And that's how they kind of created the antibiotic. Okay. So lots of those medications are derived from the food that we eat.
Interesting. Yes, there's a lot more to learn.
That experiment is a little bit myself, but I think what's more significant or more going back and more fitting to share, building also on this, is what I remember my granny using sometimes. So she would visit us, because my granny's in Bulgaria and we grew up in Austria, I was born there. So she would visit us, and I don't remember, I think it was for fever that she would take. So we have, like Aloe, we have rakia. Rakia is in Bulgarian.
Bulgarian.
I think also Greek is probably something else. Anyway, and so she would, and we would not like it, because of course like it would smell, and so...
And it's very strong.
Yeah, it smells a lot, and so she would essentially rub it on our backs and rub on our feet, and then like really rub it. And my granny is also in Bulgaria, she has a farm, and also countryside context there. So even her hands, it's kind of granny hands, quite rough.
Yeah.
So when she she would rub me, I was like, no, we don't want,
It's a scrub as well.
It's exactly. But it also really smells, and it was funny because, in a sense, in a way, yeah, it's not a critique, but of course it's an alternative way of treating, other than just taking a few pills, which is what you kind of grew up with in Austria, and what everybody does and considers to be normal.
Okay.
Nobody takes some alcohol, and like
rub
the feet. It seems very very bizarre, but what actually did happen is that, I guess by the friction, but also the alcohol, it also sort of like a hot toddy, it warms. It's interesting how why the feet. I guess there's many people who say everything when you fall sick comes from the feet, because you're more exposed, and I don't know what. And I think sometimes I've experienced that definitely. So maybe warming up the feet. I can only think of probably a foot bath having an equivalent effect of warming your body. So I guess we were really small, so I don't really remember if it worked or not, but I guess it did something.
Yeah, so usually such discussions would go unintentionally to a comparison between modern medicine versus traditional medicine. I come from healthcare sector, so I'm a very happy believer and formal, the Western or the scientific medicine. And the intention here is not to endorse or discredit any type of medicine, but rather to share that traditional experience, which as I said, I noticed in all of the cultures, that they use some sort of edible stuff, let's call it, whether it's a plant spice or anything, for the medicinal properties and the nutritional. And I also noticed that animals have some kind of innate knowledge of that. Like my dog back in Lebanon, if he ate something bad, he'd stop eating any more meat and goes nibbles on some grass, and it's better. Right? Yeah. And I heard from the shepherds also back home that they follow the goats to know which plants are good for tummy pain, because they know.
My father used
because they eat differently if they're sick, and you see like the flock eating something, but one of them is not feeling well and eating something else. That's how they discovered that this plant has some property. Now, how do they get this knowledge? I'm not sure.
Intuitive, it comes to them.
Maybe not. Maybe
the trial
also sounds superstitious. But mind you guys, scientific medicine has been around for the past 200 years. The human experience has been around for many, many more years. And by trial and error, there's a lot of things that humans came to practice for their own benefit that they can't explain. And that's the thing. Modern medicine, or modern science, if you can't explain it, then you cannot prove that it works, but sometimes it's just the experience that prove it, through the years. One of the exciting things that I've heard lately is that in the Amazon, where a lot of pharmaceutical companies go for plants and stuff, they have their indigenous knowledge there that they actually finally written in a book, so that it's not lost.
Finally, they did it.
But in Amazonian language.
Yeah.
Oh.
So no one
Exactly.
outside
So
the
that's
tribe
outside that's
understand.
gonna replicate it. So it's always exciting for me. I also had my own experience with the same sister having some medical problems later with the Crohn's disease, and I can tell you when the hospital couldn't help anymore, the plants helped. The plants helped. Long story, but they helped. Right? And then again, as I said, we're not preaching here anything, but rather kind of connecting the people through that common culture of folks medicine.
I wanted to share another story
Yes,
next time, just because I've been thinking of it and it's just so funny. So it's not any tradition or anything from my family, but it's an experience I've had traveling. Essentially, we traveled to Iran about 3, 4, 5 years back, and I was there it was my second time, and I was there with a friend of mine from France, and during the travels, because it was, I guess, January, she fell sick and she had this, I think something like an ear infection, but maybe she also arrived to the trip half sick, I don't know, but in any case, she ended up with this ear pain. And of course, we're in a place where we don't speak the language really. I mean, we had Iranian hosts, which was really nice, and they were really kind and generous, showing us around, having her pass under, I don't know, somebody's insurance and everything. But before we did that, actually, the first thing we did, they said,
I'm fine now.
they would get this little ball of grass or something, undefinable brown grass something. For you it'll be funny because it's called Anbar Nisa.
Amber.
Yeah, Anbar, like what's it called?
You speak Arabic very well.
I speak Arabic, yeah.
Okay.
It's what's the orange stone that is kind of half translucent?
Frankincense.
No, it's a stone.
Amber?
Maybe. Yeah, I think so.
It's
Which is like
orange.
orangey, a bit, but a bit transparent and has amber. So there you go, amber. Okay. And so they would get out the gas heater, then they would burn the stain on the gas heater. And they would tell her, okay, hold your ear like this over the fumes that come out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a whole scene because, of course, the smoke. I mean, it was really funny because, I mean, of course, there was smoke, so it kind of went to her ear, but she also couldn't place her nose and mouth somewhere else, so she kind of ended up coughing and inhaling it and stuff. And we were like, what are we doing? What is that? Even funnier than this is, and I don't have much background on this, but what this was. So it's called the amber of the Nisa is the female women, and it's actually excrements from a female goat. And I think it's a specific. I think it's like a pregnant female goat at some point, something.
Yeah, on the third pregnancy.
No, but it was not, so it's a female pregnant, goat, again, I don't really remember if it helped her, because I think the next day we went to the hospital. But the experience was really fun.
I'll tell you something. I used something from Iran recently, dried, هو دم الغزال.
Okay.
So
the deer's blood?
Yeah, deer's blood, but it's
the actual
completely dry.
Yeah.
Actually, I added to my hair on Friday. I do dye my hair. I don't use like chemical dyes. Okay. So I use henna. Henna is a plant. Again, they sun dry, they grind it, and gives a kind of a reddish color. But to make it a kind of dark, because my hair is originally dark brown, I would add this to it. And I accidentally actually came across it. I went to get something else from the Iranian market in Sharjah, and then the guy told me you can use this instead. So actually I got it. It was extremely good. And I would sound like I'm doing a commercial for that stuff, but it helps to what do you call it, the splits, التقصف. Yeah, it helps with the splits and gives the natural shine to the hair. So it's, and I asked around and it's actually, it uses blood.
I don't know much about using animal.
Yeah. I know. And
Yeah.
just, now I remember because you brought this up, but yeah, it's something I've used myself, so I'm just sharing. So okay, interesting. So
so coming to today's herb.
Yeah, what we're celebrating.
I thought of what would be that herb that I'd start with, and one of the herbs that really helped my sister during her Crohn's disease was aloe vera, and that is where the time where I kind of came to know how helpful is that plant. Now, funny enough, the origin of this plant, according to all resources, is the Arabian Peninsula. Right? Yeah, there's a story that says, that Alexander the Great, during his, what do you call this? His wars or his conquers, right? He was advised by Aristotle to actually take over Socotra, and Socotra is an island just facing Yemen, to secure a supply of aloe vera for the wounded soldiers, because even back then they knew it is good for the healing of the wounds, right? So there's a lot of resources saying that aloe vera has been used also during the Egyptian era, during the pharaohs, and they and on their papyrus they have written extensively about the benefits of the aloe vera. There's also a story that Cleopatra, being the icon of beauty during that era, has used aloe vera for facial masks.
He's
very affectionate.
I like that.
Yeah. Right. So Cleopatra has used that, and just remind myself of other examples from around the world of the use of aloe vera. Right, and even the Chinese have used it to treat burns and wounds, and they said the Japanese, after the atomic bomb in 1944, they have used aloe vera on the skin because of the burns and the radiation.
It's the fact that I was sorry to interrupt. But I was a few years back. I was traveling around Hong Kong and China. And I got some sunburn, and my Chinese friend actually said, "Oh, get some aloe vera for it," which I'd never heard of using before. And then rubbing aloe vera into never really occasion to use it. And then rub the aloe vera into the burn, and the soothing effect is incredible. It just calmed down the pain and the reddishness.
It's cool as well. So
it is a cooler. Yeah. So. Usually people know aloe vera for the skin benefit, but we used it for her guts. So she actually drank aloe vera inside, and then I got to actually discover that aloe vera is as good on the skin as it's on the guts, because it is also an antibacterial. It regenerates the mucosal layering of the intestines, because in Crohn's disease that's the main problem. They get ulcerated, and that's causes diarrhea and all those problems. So the way it heals once on the outside, it does the same on the inside, which is really, really great. So it has, as resources say, it has around 200 biologically active, naturally occurring constituents, including polysaccharides, vitamins. It's also nutritionally good. It has enzymes, amino acids, and minerals that promote nutrition, absorption, digestive health, and healthy immune system. So it supports also healthy digestion, and that's why you can find it in juices, around in Carrefour or stuff. And then it's antioxidant and antibacterial and accelerates the healing of burns and reduces dental plaque.
Okay.
Like as a mouthwash.
Oh, wow.
Never used it this way.
Reduces or reduces?
Reduces, right? And then it moisturizes and hydrates the skin. Immune system, we said that reduces harmful toxins, increases absorption of nutrients, and balances the stomach acidity, which is, you know, if it's too alkaline in the stomach, then that's where when the fungus starts increasing and you get all those fungal infections. So it stabilizes the acidity. A lot of our food that we eat currently is acidic, like meat and that kind of stuff. So that's good to go with it to stabilize the acidity. And occasionally it might soothe the muscle pain or joint discomfort. So there's a lot of applications, but what I can testify for as a witness, that it kind of sent her Crohn's disease. I mean, for those who haven't heard about Crohn's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, coming from the healthcare background, I love those jargons. Yeah, so it's when the immune system, which is supposed to be protecting you from infections and stuff, turns somehow against your body, and attacks your own tissues, your own cells. And Crohn's disease is when the immune system actually focuses on the intestines, on the guts. So the immune system attacks the guts. And when that happens, you get an inflammation of the gut. And when you get that inflammation, all that layering of the gut that helps, you know, digestion and absorption of the nutrients is not working anymore. So what you eat actually just passes through that tube without being digested. You get diarrhea, you get ulcers, pain, right? And then you lose a lot of, the patient loses a lot of weight. And the main conventional treatment is to give something to decrease the immunity.
Like the best thing you can do with,
No, the current scientific evidence is that you give something called immune suppressant. So you decrease the immunity. But that's
not curing.
Exactly.
Obviously, because it increases the risk of you having infection. And that's what she had. Her immunity went so low that she got all those infections. And you know, you will be amazed that around 3 to 5 kilograms of our body is actually bacteria. Yeah. You have more genetic material in your body that are bacterial than human, right? Right. So you have, which is amazing. You have like 90% of your genetic makeup inside your body is bacterial. Only 10% is human, which means that if you get all the DNA of all the bacteria that's in your body and you put them just next to each other, they constitute 90% of the genetic makeup. Only 10% are yours. So when the immune system decreases, all these bacteria, they kind of become opportunistic and they increase. And it's all about the balance. Nature is all about the balance. And when that balance is tipped, they cause all the problems, right? So we couldn't do anything with her situation apart from using herbal medicine. Part of it, my brother has done the whole experience with her. One of the things that he used is aloe vera, and aloe vera restored the health of the gut, protected it, and restored the integrity of the lining of the intestines, and that relieved her of the pain, of the diarrhea, and of the malabsorption of the food. And so since then I've been using it myself, put it in my smoothies every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. The thing about it is like it's bitter. So we have now the chance to actually cut and de-skin it and actually feel it. Inside the gel is transparent, it's bitter. So it always has to be with something else to kind of tone the bitterness down. But I find it very regenerating inside. It makes me feel light. Sometimes you eat food that feels heavy, but if you have a healthy gut, that your body will be able to digest very quickly, and aloe vera's help in that. I'm not saying it's like the super herb, but one of one of the tools in your arsenal, your toolbox that you can use to maintain your gut health. Now you can find it commercially, that's for sure, in shops as like an aloe vera drink. It's also within the beauty industry. You can find it in a lot of beauty products. I would always recommend to go to the natural source. And funny enough, it's really available here. I mean, locally, grown locally. And it has different cousins. So the ones that you will have are the skinny ones, right? Those ones are thick and big, right? They have the same ingredients inside. It's exactly the same. It's just that the shape is different, right? So it feels always smooth on the outside. There's a gel inside, and that gel has all those, fineness in it.
So I've seen aloe vera in drinks before. It's little pips. So is that what's inside here? Like little seeds?
It's like it's gel.
Little jelly type.
Yeah, it's jelly for sure. We've cut it and you see the gel inside, but
Yeah.
seeds, I haven't seen seeds.
Or maybe it just looks like a seed.
Maybe there's something else in it as well. That isn't
Yeah.
like mixed aloe vera and
I
like.
think it's the basil seed drink. Maybe.
No, it's definitely aloe vera drinks. It's got these.
Maybe the taste is
things
aloe
inside.
vera, but the seeds are. Wait, it's those like jelly black ones with this like.
No, it's,
No.
they're green.
Oh.
They're green.
Yeah.
Oh, they're green.
I'm not
Okay.
sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the plant looks like this, and it doesn't produce any seeds. per
Maybe
se.
it's not a seed, but it looks like a small.
Could be.
Oh, I know. I think that's maybe chunks of the meat. No?
Maybe.
Of
Yeah.
the skin.
Yeah, they're
Could
like
be,
squarish.
Yeah, very very small.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but still.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I think that happened.
Yeah.
I remember being, I don't know, I think I was either burnt or something here. And I was trying to look for something, and my friend told me, oh yeah, just go grab some aloe vera.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I looked around, but didn't really
Couldn't
find any. She's like, oh yeah, it grows in the streets kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed. I used to have a huge aloe vera plant in my garden.
Yeah.
Here in Dubai.
Yeah, don't have that anymore.
So you miss Dubai,
I miss
yeah?
Dubai too much.
Like the last hours you mentioned that I could sense it twice
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
So I use it for eczema.
Yeah.
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 So me and my brother, we used to have severe eczema, and we used to just rub that on our skin.
Yeah.
So it soothed it quite a lot.
Yeah, that's it. My skin is
It's quite good.
my skin is better in Dubai than it is in London. But
Oh yeah,
but
actually.
yeah, I'm gonna maybe
That's
this is
that's
my answer. Maybe I should just find some aloe vera in London.
Yeah.
And
These
Sort my skin
ones grow in Holland because I went to different places to source the aloe veras, and you can get an aloe vera of this size for 30 dirhams, and then for the skinny size 10 dirhams, and what I found a farm that actually sell them only for 2 dirhams, grown locally.
Ah.
So those are the cards that you will find on the bags that you take later, and this farm is in Abu Dhabi, but they deliver. Right?
Okay, nice.
So the ones that are imported come from Holland, usually. They take some time actually to grow, so you should have like a big farm to be able to produce that much. But the ones here in Abu Dhabi, they grow fast, as they said, and he can actually.
Because of the heat or?
Could be. It's a tropical, and maybe it's because it is in its homeland.
yeah,
Okay.
it was like the right kind of nutrients.
But they are able actually to provide enough for the. I go to the farmers market here. If you have been to.
On Saturday?
For
Business
instance,
Bay?
yes, exactly.
Okay, I've never been to.
Yeah. So
Is
this.
it the one near Bay Avenue?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful place, and they have a stand over there, and they always bring anywhere between 30 to 40 leaves, and they go.
That's
Both
nice,
there
yeah.
and then because people don't
So
like
30
it.
is the plant or the piece like this?
They sell the leaves and they sell the plants, but the leaves are more available. So it's
More
easier to buy.
simple.
Yeah. The plants you have to kind of
Take
book.
care of them.
And you have to book. I mean, like they would say, okay, our plants will be available in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because
Okay.
they're always growing. Yeah, and they don't want to cut their supply.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Right. So
take
I
us-
thought of experimenting with this. I got some recipes. I got the ingredients, and so please let's just
Yeah, let's
experiment
see.
with all the ingredients here. Some of them in the covers. So let's start by cutting. Maybe the ladies can help with the juicing of the orange.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a cutting board.
Thank you.
And
Let's not show us.
well, I used to cut it like this and then try to open it all, but then it is a little bit cumbersome because it's big. So I just chop it first.
Okay.
So
off like
that.
naturally.
And then you this, and then you just pass it, and it's kind of transparent, so you know.
Yeah.
Looks
This
nice.
is what I saw in the drink.
This,
well,
like chopped
chunks.
into
Yeah.
chunks. Okay.
So that's a chunk one is for you, Lloyd, too.
Yeah, experiment.
It smells like familiar, but I can't think. I've definitely never eaten it before. But it's like another plant. Is it weird if I now rub this on my skin?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
That's what I want to do with it.
That's what you
So
do.
That's
here.
as natural as it can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's use this piece
Yeah, it's
first.
clean.
So what is the first recipe over there? What should we put?
There's one.
I mean, so that's coming,
There's the orange.
and then
Well, this one says honey or oregano.
How do
Check
you?
it.
How are you supposed to do that in that?
This is so
If you want, I can have it. So how often you make?
It says a tablespoon.
yeah.
So that
How often you make the
3
smoothies?
teaspoons, I think.
Every morning?
Every evening before I sleep, I prepare the smoothie
Bravo.
for the next day.
So which one
I
you
don't
usually
put
make?
inside.
Yeah.
There.
I'm experimenting. I have never used those particular recipes.
Recipes? Okay. None of them is
so yeah.
your favorite, or the
Yeah.
one that you usually.
I'm as an explorer as you tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then
Cool.
Lemon?
the last ingredient, the lemon.
How much? A bit?
No, all of it.
Oh.
Sometimes
Yeah,
we
one
just
lemon
save
squeeze.
that. Yeah, I would just
Maybe
do
I'll
this.
just pull this.
Yeah.
Or you're trying.
It's a scrape
Yeah,
all
so
the.
you're planning
scrape
to-
it. Scrape it. But that's
Yeah.
fine.
Can
That's
have
an
it now.
alternative.
Yeah.
Cool.
Stuck on the bottom.
Yeah.
No, don't worry, we'll just blend it in the usual.
So the last ingredient is half a cup of coconut water and 3 ice cubes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, coconut.
Coconut water.
We have it.
is over there,
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Yeah. It smells nice.
It's not a. I guess it is a herb.
What?
I traveled to Zanzibar this.
I was just thinking today about traveling to Zanzibar. I so much want to do it.
So they plant the seaweed, and then. Where did the foam come from? Is that from the plant?
Aloe veras are foamy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, once you blend
Huh.
them, they foam.
Yeah.
But
Inside it's this really jelly.
yeah. Cool.
It doesn't feel sticky in the way that sort of citrus
The way
fruit
it
do
looks
after you
actually,
after you touch it. So then the skin feels very
Yeah.
clean afterwards.
Enough. Keep some for you and Zainab. Zainab will share this.
I'll share with us.
It's actually good. I like
Yeah,
it.
it's
taste.
tasty.
Yeah.
it's approval.
Mm-hmm.
Big chunk. Does it have any bitterness in it?
A little, but not.
But
Very,
there's-
very,
yeah,
So
very.
it's very, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, very
Cool.
minimal. I mean.
Right, and then?
And then 1 cucumber. It doesn't say what.
Do we need to chop it?
But presumably we need to chop it.
Yeah.
Cool, and then?
And then 1 lemon juiced again.
Yeah.
I haven't done some juicing.
Oh,
Like individual leaves or 6 whole sprigs.
Yeah.
I guess
maybe
some.
just like a handful of mint.
Yeah. Because mint is good then.
Yeah.
6 Lisa.
And then 3 ice cubes again.
A bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's good. Mint is
You
good.
can feel how it's like
It's
cooling.
refreshing.
Yeah, but it's cooling and it
Smells nice.
keeps being cooling.
Yes.
It's like when you drink too much orange juice, you start to feel really like acidic in your stomach. But you could drink loads of this and not feel
Right, so.
you get from 3 carrots.
That much. Because a carrot is not that juicy.
Juicy,
right?
very something personal. Like you can do the mix that you'd like, but the reaction of the people is very standard. Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was very greenish, and just people are not used to something greenish being.
They're not
a
used
drink.
to something different in general. Something they're not used to. That's it.
energy levels change.
Yeah, I was
That's
about to ask
that's the main thing.
specifically
I mean,
about
illness,
the
I'm not sure
energy.
about the energy level and the mental clarity,
Stamina.
especially in the morning. And maybe that's something psychological, because you're doing the thing that you think is right. You're reacting psychologically.
Oh my
to
god,
it. I'm
let's
not sure.
get into that.
Yeah, but in general, the energy level has been really better. Like more abundant, especially in the morning, when you want to be focused and alert and stuff like this. Mind you that I don't drink any coffee at all whatsoever, so no coffee.
So you just have these in the morning?
Yeah, and that's my breakfast.
Yeah.
And lose weight. It has a moderate caloric content. So
Okay.
It's not very dense and rich with calories.
Yeah.
Filling. Tastes good, see,
Of course, yeah.
And it's abundant in energy and fibers. Something good for the tummy. It's very rich.
So that way, actually,
Nice.
you just take it off. It's pretty easy. It's not even, it takes no effort.
Yeah.
If you wanna try.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
That's
well,
sharing.
I used to do it like this as well, and this changed my life. No?
Yeah.
Yes.
And ice cubes.
Yeah. 3, 4.
Of course, always 3.
3. Yeah, and the first time I checked for recipes, something totally different came back, like aloe vera pudding.
Oh.
Yeah. And aloe vera cakes, and obviously people has put the aloe vera in all sorts of stuff. Yeah, so I thought might not be a good idea actually to do it. So I went with the juices.
Yeah.
So for that,
Interesting.
I would like to. Yeah, it looks like a. It doesn't look like what it's supposed to be. It's not like that. Yeah. But I thought that's a good way to present it. This is the source of the leaf, right? And they deliver. Yeah. Freshly baked, exactly. Right from the farm. Yeah, the recipes are inside.
Oh, thank you very much. Awesome.
So this stays for about a week or 2, you said.
2
In
you said?
the
Fridge?
fridge. Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
I really like
Oh,
this.
thank you very much.
Like twisting
Soak
it.
down.
It's like therapeutic.
Yeah.
Good. So you can have a beautiful cake, right? Thank you so much. Shukran.
Rena, you
Yeah.
can take yours now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get mine later. Thank you, though. I
Yeah,
appreciate
and
it.
I have the plants for you. Okay, so if you happen to have a place like a garden and you want to plant it, that's perfect, but they can stay in the pots, right? So when it comes to maintaining an aloe vera plant, they reach maturity around 3 to 4 years. They can grow up to 20 and 30 centimeters, right? But as long as you keep them in the pot, they will stay in the same size. So they won't grow bigger unless you,
What are they like in the outdoors? That they can survive by summer and
not usually.
no.
Not usually.
Okay, so better to keep them indoors.
unless you water them.
Yeah.
So unless you water them. What I would recommend, keep them inside as long as the temperature is higher than 35, 37, right? But when it goes like these days, you can keep them out, that's fine.
Yeah.
A bit of sun is good, but
Yes.
too much would dry them, right? The most important thing is to keep the soil dry. So too much water will also gets them shriveled, right? The good thing about this is that it keeps the moisture. This pot, it keeps the moisture, but it still drains the extra water from below. Easy on the hold. That's a handful. To have the trust to come to somebody else's personal space without even knowing who the hell they are, that's something I really appreciate. I mean, your college, to come over from places that are not very close, also 25 minutes drive is not very close, so I really appreciate it. And but it shows that spirit that we have to actually connect with the other. And that's what I really appreciate. And for you, Asma, I'm really grateful that you gave me the opportunity. You definitely have warmed the house, even for me, which I really like. And I'm just feeling very happy on that side.
Great.